Welcome to another episode of the Monetize. I'm your host, Tim Conley, and I am here with my good friend, Pedro Moreno. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing fine, Tim, and today I want to talk to you about being greedy because the
I like
monetize.
being greedy.
You like being greedy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Greed is good.
cool.
I learned that in the 1980s with Gordon Gekko, right?
Okay.
Greed is good. Make all the money you can.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
But a lot of people believe that what they're doing is greedy, and it's usually a symptom of some other belief.
Right.
So they call it greedy so that they don't have to do something else, like so they can protect some other part of their ego, and that's something I think we can get into.
A friend of mine last week came to me. She's a personal trainer, so she runs her own business. And she was telling me about this new lead that she has and said that she may not be very good, quote unquote, with her because essentially she was going to raise her prices. And this raised a red flag to me because the moment that we start giving tags to raising or lowering our prices, I believe that that is a string that as you pull it, you see that you start having issues with money and your perspective with money. And that is going to be very, very dangerous to your business. And I myself have lived that. I've had doubts on raising my prices, on recontextualizing the things that we are doing and the new prices that we need to go along those new services, those new systems. And that has kept my business staggered for some time. So I find this very dangerous, and I want to talk directly to those who are in this position. So I want to know a little bit more about your thoughts on psychology of money and how can we help people that are currently in this state of mind.
The big thing that I really want to stress is there should be no moral component to making money.
Right.
Zero. It's neither good nor bad. Making money is neither good nor bad.
Sure.
I always talk about this with pricing, and we kind of covered this in the pricing episode we did, where you should charge enough money that you're happy to work for and the client eagerly wishes to pay.
Right.
So you make that as high as you possibly can, where both parties are still happy at the end of the day. When you're doing client work, if your client's not happy, they're not going to like paying that fee, whatever the fee is.
Right.
So if they're eagerly paying your fee because they're getting a lot of value and it's a very high price that you're happy to work for, like you get up and you're excited to work on their project, that is it. And it's neither good nor bad. There's no moral component to it whatsoever. Because as soon as you add a moral component to money, now what you've done is emotionalized something that is just a function of business. It's just a function of economics. It's a basic operating system within our society. That's it. As soon as you add any moral component to it, now your emotions will get in the way.
But unfortunately, people do. And people do put those moral tags on money and making money. And there's very reasons for it. And I see it a lot in our upbringing here in Latin America, that there's this huge stigma with making money and steering away from what people perceive as its fair pricing. So as we are entrepreneurs and business owners, and I myself, coming from a freelancing background now to being an owner, I've lived the consequences of thinking this way, of putting that moral tag on the price that I'm saying, that I'm communicating to a prospect, that I'm informing a client, and that I'm putting on a project, because I may feel guilt out of what I'm doing. I may feel like I'm not deserving it, and that no one is going to pay for that as well. So the direction that I wanted to take this conversation on, Tim, and that I really want your insights on this as well, is for those people who unfortunately see making money and raising their prices as something morally wrong, and that has like this direct consequence on their business and on their livelihood. How can they start changing that? Because if not, they're going to stay the same.
Yeah. So there's a few parts to this, because the psychology is a little different for each reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people have a particular belief system about money that's ingrained in them by their parents and their social circle when they're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like the greater overall culture. Like America is known for making money and being about money. But if you talk to the average American about money, they are just as messed up about it as everyone else in the world. Even though our culture really celebrates people going out and making money. So people
Right.
will try, even though they might have these beliefs like money is the root of all evil and all kinds of stuff, right?
Yep.
They've been ingrained into believing money is bad. And maybe that's a defense mechanism. Like culturally, you develop a defense mechanism because I don't have any money. So not have it, and I need to be a good person. So
Sure.
I don't have any money. And so I don't like the people who have money. That makes me a good person and I'm a bad person. So,
Right.
So there is that element of psychology where, is that why you are not wanting to charge enough? Is that you've determined that I'm a good person if I'm poor? Or
Sure.
did you have a belief that something happened in your life where you misused money and life got really chaotic because you went into a bunch of debt and you did some other things that made your life harder, and instead of recognizing what caused the chaos, you blame it on money.
Right.
So the big thing people have to look at is, why do I believe this? Because like I said at the beginning, it's neither good nor bad. Money's neither good nor bad. But why do I believe these moral tales around money? Why do I use it? It's protecting me from something. It's protecting my ego from some truth. What is that? What is that truth? And maybe you can't find it. And so that's the third part of psychology that I usually focus on, is maybe you don't know. Maybe you got so much head trash, you have no idea where it came from. I cannot pinpoint why I'm so messed up about money.
Right.
That could be true. Okay. Then what we need to do is start practicing on more money, because your confidence once confidence and acclamation occur, as you start making more money, you just get used to that money.
Yeah.
Right? People who get a pay raise, right? They at their job and they get like a 5% pay raise and they're like, wow, that's awesome. And then 3 weeks later, cannot remember that they ever had gotten a pay raise. And they definitely don't have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
People will acclimate to the amount of money that they have available to them. And so if you don't know why you're against money, then the first thing to do is, and you can't identify it, the first thing to do is to start slowly increasing the amount of money you bring in.
Okay. So it's, first of all, getting used to it. And I think the next step that goes into getting used to making a little bit more money is having the ability to see that it's resources that you're gathering. Even if you're just a solo practitioner, it is still a resource that you're having to be able to upgrade your equipment, to be able to maintain the software that you're working with, and really wrap your head around that it's not money for you. Even though you may be the business still runs on money for the business. And this is something that I think a lot of freelancers and solo practitioners really struggle with. And Tim, I think you are the person to tell me if I'm right or wrong with this assumption, that many times people who have not switched their mindset from sole practitioner, let's call them freelancers, to being owners, definitely fall into the trap of money come in, money stays for me.
One of the worst things about self-employment is that the people who are earning their money, they assume every dollar is their dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't realize that until they pay themselves, that money belongs to the business. And I was talking to a coaching prospect, and he's got a $1 million agency, wants to grow it, wants to do a few other things. And I asked him, okay, what's your profit? And he said some number. And I said, okay, does that include your salary? Or is there a salary and this is the profit? And he's like, oh, yeah, it includes my salary.
Right.
Like, oh, then that is not your profit. Your profit is that number minus your salary.
Right.
And this is a guy who's got a 7-figure agency, and he still is treating every dollar that doesn't get spent running the company as his money. And when you do that, you can't properly make decisions as a business owner as to where this money needs to go. So that's a big issue I see with literally everyone who starts off self-employed. They don't separate the business from themselves personally.
Right. Tim, another reason that I brought this topic to you and that we started off with greed, and for me this one is a huge one, and it is the social climate in which different business owners are on, and how much that affects their ability to properly charge for what they're doing and properly make the money that the business and themselves need, which is exactly that which you're saying, which is charge the amount of money that you feel happy to work for and that your client is going to happily pay as well. But I come from Venezuela, which is currently going through a huge financial or economic crisis for the past 10 years easily. And I came back, or I went back like a month ago because of a family emergency. And I could tell that how much the misery that means to live inside an economic crisis damages your mindset towards money. Meaning,
Yes,
if you're a solo practitioner in a place like Venezuela, and like any other place, you need a good enough amount of money at the end of the month to live. Like, no matter where you live, I wouldn't say that $500 is a good amount of money to live off of, essentially, anywhere in the world. But you're solving problems and you have clients, but you're not in a position to properly ask your clients for the amount of money that you need, not to be spread out too thin. So I know of people that have 20 plus clients, for instance, and they charge them very, very, very little. They're spread out too thin. They give a ton of different services, and all of those services are poorly delivered because of how stressed out they are.
Right.
And this strikes home because when you grow up in a place where they condemn people who make money because of this huge stigma that whoever makes money, it is just because they're robbing the money from other people to get them in their pocket. And it is very, very hard to change your mindset from that to be someone who will say, okay, I'm going to have a $25,000 client for a single month, and I'm going to make $25,000 in January. And that's like my first stack. And coming back to the psychology of these problems, what advice would you give someone who's in this context, who's in this situation and wants to get better?
The interesting thing is, anytime there is a downward spiral that's occurring anywhere in the world, if you feel like it's happening to you, then you're going to get sucked away with it. It will pull you along. This is a psychology. You can read about it in Viktor Frankl's book, A Man's Search for Meaning. You can read where the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is your freedom's taken away and you're put into a concentration camp where you're slowly starving to death, and you might get killed any day while you're there. And people you know are dying left and right. So the people who survived that situation, Frankl noticed that, including himself, noticed that they viewed the world differently. They viewed that they still had some level of control over their life. But if you feel like you have zero control over your life, you will succumb to the circumstances. So that's one aspect that places that are going through a depression, going through a financial crisis, is the crisis becomes contagious. And the best thing you can do is find people who are fighting the contagion, that they refuse to go down with the ship. They're like, no, I'm going to survive this. Not only am I going to survive this, I'm going to thrive in this situation. So in the United States, some of the largest companies that were ever created in the US were founded during the Great Depression and became multi-million-dollar companies at a time when 30% of the population was unemployed. Sure. People had no money, and yet large companies were formed during that time because the people who formed those companies refused to be a victim of the economy. Right? They saw this hardship as an opportunity for them to serve the market. Well, these people need soap. These people need food. They need these other things. I can give that to them. And they built businesses around solving somebody's problems. So the first thing you have to do is find like-minded people. One of the great things about the internet is, as long as you have an uncensored connection to the internet, you can find anyone on the planet to be in a mastermind with. That because there's this old saying that you're the average of the 5 people you associate with most. Well, if the people in your vicinity, in your town, are depressing and they don't lift you up, they don't believe in you, well, get on the internet and find the people who believe in you. Because you will find them. You will find them not by the tens, you will find them by the thousands. There are thousands of people on the internet right now at this moment who would be like, yeah, go Pedro, that's awesome. I'm glad you are achieving the things that you're doing. And if you're in that situation anywhere in the world, find your tribe on the internet, the one that is not going to let circumstances pull them downwards. They instead use those circumstances to build their own strength, like going to the gym. You go into the gym, it's hard. I did it this morning and it sucked, like a whole hour of total suckage. And yet it made me stronger. That's what people can do. Finding the right people in your life will do that for you. You will be like, oh, Tim believes in me, so maybe I should believe in myself.
Well, you are literally quoting me throughout the past few months. This is something that I've repeated myself almost every week for some reason or the other. And this also summarizes the reason for this episode, which is, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are one of the ones who are refusing to go down with the spiral. You are one of the ones who are trying their best and will succeed at not being sucked into the crisis, the chaos that may be in your life. And I know this for a fact because that is the reason why me and my girlfriend, we left in 2018 Venezuela, because we refused our lives to go down the drain as it looked like it was going to be. And many times being here in Uruguay and being a remote worker, if you will, many times I've doubted if had I stayed in Venezuela, if I would have achieved the things that I've achieved and have the mindset that I currently have. Because as you said, like, it is thanks to the people that I have surrounded myself with by the internet that I have changed my way of living and my mindset as well. And that could have happened in Venezuela, in the States, in Uruguay, in Europe, in Asia, whatever. However, in my context specifically, if I stayed in a place where the electricity was constantly coming and going, if the internet failed dramatically, I would not have been in a position to be able to get hired by people internationally and get exposed to people like Tim who think this way, and now people like me who we really want you to be one of us as well and to succeed and really swim against that horrible current that may be going in your life, and know that yes, it is possible, but it also requires a lot of brain power, essentially, to break free from the context of your life, to break free from the shackles that your upbringing, your culture, your society has put on you, and to become someone else.
Right. So I'm sort of a natural contrarian. So not going along with other people, relatively easy for me. Because I just don't care what most people think. So it's easy for me to not do what they want to do. But if you're somebody who's not a natural contrarian, who likes getting along with everyone, and being easily influenced by other people's attitudes, the number one thing you can do is change the people around you. Right. By changing those people, You will introduce new influences because you don't want to go against the stream, where you're currently at, but you surround yourself with these other people. Well, they're in a different stream altogether. Like they don't even seem like they're being affected by this one. They're over here doing this other thing. And so what happens is it makes it easier to do the things you want to do because you're around people doing those things. And to them, they're just a fish in water. They're just swimming along. It's just nature. And it doesn't feel contrarian to them because this is just how life is. And when you surround yourself with people who believe like that, live like that, you will start to behave like that. Yes, you're still going to have some doubts. You're still maybe going to have some imposter syndrome. You're still going to have these lingering questions of, am I being greedy? Am I not doing something good here? Like, am I a bad person? Like, you might still have some of that because it's hard to get rid of head trash. But when you're surrounded by people that care about you and are succeeding at what you want to succeed with, then what you're going to find is that when those doubts inevitably pop up, they're going to be like, oh, you can do it. Go ahead. Just do it, Pedro. Just go at it. And then you go, okay, I'll give it a shot. Because not only is it one person who believes in me, I now have a whole group of people who believe in me, who have experienced the very things that I'm currently experiencing, or even worse, I'm afraid to experience. I'm afraid to experience these things, and they've already been through everything that really sucks. They've already gotten through it, and they're still happy, and they're still successful, and like, oh, well, maybe I can get through those things I'm afraid of.
Okay, so let's do like if we can, like a step by step, because this reminds me of a cousin of mine that I have the highest regards for, because she's one of the, we have a large family of like, I want to say like 50, 60 cousins or something, and we all left Venezuela. There's just like 3 living in Venezuela.
Wow.
And this cousin of mine, she is successful. By all means, she is successful. She has her own business. She's a teacher. She's a professor at the university, and she's also building her path as a coach, as a business coach as well. And I thought, what are the chances for someone like her in the Titanic, essentially, in a sinking country, that flourishes, and that she has put herself in a position where she can actually make money, as opposed to the entire people around her, where the people that I encounter, $30 was a ton of money, an amount of money that people needed weeks to save to be able to have lunch or whatever. And the steps that she went through to be in a position to charge way more money than those $30 that we're talking, is she hired like a neuro coach, like someone who's actively aware of the language that she's using. She has a coach as well, and she's also in an entrepreneur business owner circle as well. But let's say that you are someone who has an online business. Maybe you are coding, maybe you are designing, maybe you're a producer of videos remotely, and you're surrounded by friends and family who are constantly dragging you along this awful current of misery. What would be those first steps that you take, Tim?
Okay. First thing, family. Love them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, okay, they're not going to change, and I can't take them with me. They are not on the same journey I'm on. And so I'm not going to start villainizing them because they don't have my dream. They're my family, love them, but they don't have my dream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compartmentalize all the things I deal with my family. And I'm going to try to remove as much emotion that comes with my dream and how it butts up against their negativity. I'm just going to kind of shove that in a little box, like treat them as the family that they are, but my dream is over here. It's separate. And I don't even need to ever speak about my dream to those people because it's not their dream and they don't want it. They don't care about it. Matter of fact, it probably scares the hell out of them. So
to avoid judgment from them.
Yeah, just don't put yourself in a situation where they can judge you. Okay? Now you go find, like your cousin did. I've got a dream and I don't want to get stuck. So I need to surround myself with people who are not stuck. They're going they don't have to be where you want to go. They're just going the direction you want to go. Like we're all on the same bus. We got different stops that we're going to get off at, but we're on the same bus going the same direction. That's what you have to find. You find those people because it's going to get hard. Everything that you're going to face, it is going to be hard. And having people who will just at least give you encouragement or the right bit of advice because they've already been there is usually enough for you to get through that hardship.
Okay, and let's say that you cannot access those people locally because let's say that you live very, very remote of anyone. Would you advise finding them in the internet?
Well, yes, but with a little bit of a caveat. I did a video on this on my YouTube channel a long time ago. I called it something like the Padawan method or something like that because I'm a nerd, and it's about you're learning to become a Jedi and sharing what you know as you're in the learning process. Because one of the things that happens is I used to get asked all the time, how do I find a mentor? Tim, will you be my mentor? No, I will not. I've never been a mentor to anyone who's ever asked for it because they were never ready to be mentored. And there's the lesson there is you need to be on a trajectory because the other people that you're going to try to meet with and try to become a part of, they don't want to get sucked down by somebody who's a wannabe, who's just kicking tires, who's going to be negative and drag them down. Like they're not going to want that. So you're going to have to take some actions to just show people, I am taking action. I'm not where you're at, but I am taking action. I'm not just talking about it. I'm not just reading blogs. I'm not just watching videos. I'm literally taking steps. They might be little tiny steps, little baby ones, but I am taking steps towards my dream. And online, you just talk about it. Here's my steps. Here's the steps I'm taking. It's literally the best way to build your authority is to share what you do to the world, and then the people who want what you do will find you. It's the same thing. I want to be in a group of people who think and believe and want to succeed like I do. Well, you just start sharing it on the internet and you will find those people. They are so easy to find as soon as you start engaging with the world and showing the actions that you're taking.
So this episode is for those that are skipping that current, I would say, that are contrarians, that are putting themselves in a different path to where their friends, family, or society is at large. And if you're watching this, I really hope that our conversation, or the steps that Tim has laid out, with the very important caveats as well that he has mentioned, really help you. Because if you do implement these, and take it from me, because I was in your shoes not so long ago, your life will slowly but surely change for good. For good. And one of the things that I love about this podcast and what we're trying to do here with Tim is that remotely through the internet, all of these things can and will change, because it has happened to a lot of people in different places in the world, and there's no reason why it wouldn't happen to you. That's why I love the fact that Tim brought me in as a co-host, because I think like I sort of embody the possibility of evolve and grow, or the possibility of growing remotely, online, doing things on the internet, and not being bound to a certain location, to a certain country, not even continent, and breaking free from any mental barrier, shackle, limitation that you have by being surrounded and exposed to people with a very different mindset that hopefully you'll be able to also take it as your own.
And with that, see you in the next episode.